digital speakers, where the expectation set today is more in terms of the panel discussion on redefining the digital transformation strategies to exceed customer expectations. Why such topic, which is required today, is more to do with the kind of transformation happening post-COVID and the digital expectations set towards the kind of customer expectations. So far, the digital transformation was more focusing towards the internal customers and the kind of stakeholders who are all planning and trying to execute part of the internal companies. Now, the expectation set was more towards the digital transformation, where it is focused more towards the customers, where every individual customer is treated as corporate, and the kind of expectation set towards the corporate in terms of customer towards the engagement, not for a short term, for a long term. And the kind of expectation set in some of the verticals where we can see where the customers are not just treated as one-time purpose or kind of the expectation set towards the business. They would want to have a long-term engagement in terms of executing customers and trying to see that part of it. Where today the kind of diversified panelists, you can see the kind of companies which is coming and focusing towards starts with the BFSI, where we have Zeenat, Mongal, VP Customer Experience, ICICI Lombard, and Mr. Aalok R. Pradhan, Director Customer Success, CoinDCX, and Suraj Shetty, Head of Customer Experience and Learning Development, Ring, Mr. Ameet Phadke, Associate Vice President, EatSure, Rebel Foods, Anirudh Das, Social Media and Brand Marketing Manager, Last Journey by Phones and Patels. So the session which we today see, we are expecting a lot more in terms of from the panelists, and I'm sure they can have the kind of expectation set part of it, and the specific requirements part of their internal strategies and their organizations, which they are focusing towards the execution of engagement with the customers for a long term. To keep it crisp in terms of expectations part of it, the customers are the people who benefit part of the company, both internal and external, and ensuring the expectation set part of it from normal towards OR factor. So the importance of creating a successful CX and in terms of new normal with robust customer communications, how the companies are trying to create strategy. We would like to listen from the people in terms of how they are trying to create such digital transformation strategies part of the company. We'll start with Madam Zeenat Mongal from ICICI Lombard to understand how your company has strategized and trying to expect in terms of the customer engagement for a long time.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh. So when we talk of customer engagement, see, erstwhile insurance industry, whether it is GI or life insurance, we do a lot of documentation. It's a document-driven industry because, for example, health cannot survive. The health segment cannot survive without documents, and hence it is imperative that you keep yourself engaged with the customer, because the moment of the truth in insurance is when the customer gets a claim, when he has a claim, whether it is motor insurance, health insurance, travel insurance, and all these situations in a GI space, the claim is not a very good moment, or not a very fortunate place, or not a very good place where the customer is in. So your engagement before and after the claim is equally important. It's not that you just go and engage with the customer at the time of claim. In insurance, customer gives you money upfront. It's just a promise that you are making. Basis a promise, he's paying you upfront, and when he needs you is when you show how engaged you are with the customer, or that how much he trusts you with what he has paid you upfront, and he looks up to you for help and support in unfortunate events. So engagement is very, very important, Dr. Shan, from insurance perspective. Also, the way you communicate with the customer is equally important. So communication has to be, if you look at today's generation, our generation is uh, communication is different. So while you may speak the same thing, every generation understands it differently, speaks a different language. You hear about the millenniums, you hear about Gen Z, they all have a different way of speaking the same thing. While you and me will speak in English in a normal sentence form, today's millennials and Gen Z would like to just keep it short with emojis, and they are okay as long as the message is communicated. So it's difficult to keep up the pace with the upcoming generation. Hence, we stick to is we stick to our fundamentals of communication when it comes to strategy of communication or engaging with the customer. We ensure that our communications are transparent. We ensure that the information that we are giving is true. We win the trust of the customer. We ensure that we are setting the expectations right, because when it is, I'll give you an example. When I say setting expectations right, is in a health, when there is a cashless claim or a non cashless claim, if you have not set the expectations right with the customer day one when you are selling him the insurance or giving him the policy copy, at the moment of truth the customer will not stay with you, because then you he feels cheated. He says आपने policy देते समय कुछ और बोला, अभी when I need you, you are going back on your statement. So setting expectation rights and delivering commitments is something, the are the key fundamentals that we focus on when we engage with the customer, whether through communication or any of our DIY channels that we are engaging with the customer. And we ensure that we keep him educated on his wellness needs, on regulatory requirements around insurance. These are the various ways that we communicate and engage with our customers.
Great, madam. Again, you started with the big part of ICICI Lombard, where health document is very important, and a kind of claims which is more going engaging with the customer. And again, the insurance industry surely is part of the trust, which is enabled part of it. And again, building that health support involvement is very important, and creating awareness, especially you mentioned setting expectations right. No, that comes out with like how. Lombard is committed towards the kind of expectations part of customers, and again creating the education in terms of that's one area which we found BFSI is trying to get hard going close to the customers and creating the right information so that they can get those benefits, and they know for what purpose the insurance is for and how to execute it. It's a great information. Now we'll move to Mr. Ameet, where Ameet, in your organization, what you feel, how the kind of transformation strategies planned, and how do you see your organization is focusing towards the kind of expected part of the customer?
Right. So, Doctor, I'll take this in two parts, right? One is the customer-facing part, and the other is the business-facing part, right? So, we were fortunate enough as a company to be born in the digital age. We were an internet restaurant company to start with, and we always had certain systems, which certain apps, D2C platforms, which we could use to generate demand to fulfill the needs of our own customers. However, COVID changed a lot of our perspectives. And while we were going through the first wave, what we tried to do is we tried to renew our focus on understanding our customers even better. We take pride in the fact that we've always been a customer obsessed company, but we really took that deep dive into understanding what our customer required at a time when the customers were feeling the most vulnerable, especially in the first wave, wherein there was a lot of fear in terms of ordering anything from outside. We remember the early part of the first wave where whenever you got a package from outside, you would keep it in the sunlight for about an hour or two, just to ensure that there was no virus on the package, or even if there was, then it was killed. So while we spoke to a lot of customers, customers needed a few assurances. For example, they needed to know where the food came from. They needed to know how it was handled. They needed to know how good was their packaging. What digital touch points enabled us to do is they enabled us to provide all of this information to the customers in a way that could assure them of the quality of the food that we were serving. We always had these systems in the back end, but they were never really visible to the customers. And what we did with the platform called EatSure that was birthed in the time of the first COVID lockdown was precisely this, to address the customers' concerns. And we've had so many testaments to the thought process that we had, wherein the customers did actually come up and say that this is what they were looking for, especially in the time of uncertainty. So in terms of what we could do for the customer's experience, was to give them the transparency through the entire value chain and tell them exactly what were they being served, including the count of calories, if I might say so. Also on the internal side, to make our systems work better and talk to each other, there were several modifications or several upgrades that we have done over the last couple of years, which just make our system so much more reliable, so much more faster and intuitive. And this is also experienced by the end customer. So in an age which is digital first, it is very important to understand the customer first and then build your product around that customer, so that the customer realizes or intuitively interacts with your product, and that is translating into a great experience, not just for the customer but also for us, and helps us serve them better.
Great insight, Mr. Ameet. And again, you mentioned very clearly how the driving of customer experience, which is empowering you people to go closer to the customers and ensuring the digital transformation, is great insights. Now we will move to Mr. Suraj Shetty on this, where the kind of digital transformation addresses the top three customer expectations of the vertical or company. What you can narrate a part of your company, if anything specific, in terms of how your company strategy engage with your customers.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh. That's an interesting question. So I would say the top three customer expectations that we had to manage as a digital platform, since we are a digital first company. So just to give a context to it, Ring is into microcredit, wherein we provide payment services to small merchants, and the customers of the small merchants can avail credit from us. So any customer walking into a kirana shop or a barber shop, anything, even if it's a small purchase of 50 rupees, he can make payment from the on credit using the Ring app. So when we enter into areas which are which are like micro payments, dealing with people who may not be very much educated, there are three things that are priority for us. Number one is instant service, just like instant credit, because since we promise instant credit in 2 minutes, customers can get credit in 2 minutes. It's necessary that the service that is provided to the customers, be it escalation management, or be it any kind of issue resolution, or any kind of transaction failure, etc. These things have to be resolved instantly, and they cannot be kept waiting. Because if you promise an instant credit delivery to the customer, and when it comes to issue resolution, if you make them wait for 7 days, then the entire promise goes on a toss. So it's necessary that we resolve issues within 24 hours. And for that, it was necessary for us to fulfill the first expectation of instant service. We have to digitize each and every channel that is related to customer service, be it calls or be it chat as well as email. So it's necessary that we have bots everywhere. And when I say bots, it's not the purpose of the bot is not just to give random replies to the customers, but the purpose of the bot is to handle generic queries so that customers' time is not wasted in waiting for the agent. So be it email, chat, or voice, we need to have bots. That's the first level that we did. Second, I would say is that sentiment analysis across all channels, which helped us understand what kind of customers are coming to us, what kind of queries they are bringing to us. And this sentimental analysis happens over voice as well as on email chat based on the words that are said by the customer. So this helps us understand and tackle issues faster. And also it helps us track what kind of queries are increasing or decreasing. And based on that, we can prioritize things based on what thing has to be fixed first, so that there are less service issues to these customers. Because these customers are making small payments, and we cannot expect a customer who is paying 50 rupees to a kirana shop wait at the call center line for 10 minutes just to understand why the 50 rupees failed. So it's very important for us. Out of the top three priorities, I mentioned instant services first. Second is fraud prevention. As I said, we learn from the multinationals always. So we have a policy that we always learn from from some of the best companies in the industry, like Google Pay as well as Phone Pay. I would say Google Pay would be the best standard for us, because I myself have been a user of Google Pay for the last like 3 to 4 years. And I've seen the kind of services that they give. Even they don't have a direct helpline, the kind of instant replies and the kind of instant resolutions that we get is something that we need to replicate. So it's necessary that fraud prevention is top priority for us. And for fraud prevention, we have built multiple layers inside our platform, which ensures that frivolous elements or people who are prone to fraudulent activities are not able to enter the platform, as well as it ensures the security of the users. And secondly, and the final one, I would say, is increasing repeat purchases. So the top three expectations are instant service, fraud prevention, and increasing repeat purchases. And the last one can be ensured only when you have fixed the first two. So once you have instant services to the customers wherein you're resolving their queries faster, and once you have taken care of fraud, which is very important, after that, repeat business is something that automatically follows. So that's the three top customer expectations for us.
Great insights, Mr. Suresh Reddy, where you mentioned very clearly in terms of digital first company, small merchant, where your Ring app comes out with instant credit delivery. No, it's not
Yes.
just credit delivery; it's more of an instant. And again, it's just for the transformation today. We can see the rural India still that's a very important and untapped, and that's what the focus more in terms of trying to create such instant delivery in terms of digitalizing using bots again. You
Correct.
mentioned that's more to do with the collaboration, how we can use it. And anyway, while discussing in the next question, we'll surely ask how you try to communicate using multilingual bots, or if anything specific of your performance can be expected part of it. Otherwise, if you mentioned that in terms of repeat purchase and using Google Pay, trying to create as much as in terms of awareness and fraud detection, again, creating that trust, how we can try to use part of the digital transformation was very important, and it was more towards your business, and it's getting people lives again, adding more in terms of rural India. We see a lot more e-business using less of electronics and more of emotions, people trying to
Correct.
get engaged and trying to repel. And you said very clearly pointed out to react to them timely and trying to get engaged with the kind of emotions, and trying to get a best solution timely, and trying to ensure avoid frauds, and having more of a repeat purchase. That's what the kind of slogan set part of the first digital delivery company, which was more focusing towards. Thanks for the information. Now we'll
Thank you.
move to Mr. Aalok Pradhan, where we would like to know what are the three top expectations set part of the customer from your organization.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shan, for this question. First of all, I would just want to jump into, or rather, I would say I will take a step back and just give a holistic view of what is a customer experience, right? Customer experience certainly does not say that the customers who come with a query needs to be resolved, or only a good satisfaction, or rather I would say we resolve their issues. Customer experience covers the entire holistic picture from the spectrum, wherein from the time we onboard any of the user or who is a potential lead also, right, we cater to all the expectations whatever they have in mind. And I will certainly touch upon a little bit on what Zeenat also covered in an initial thought process, is that uh, in current generation it is really very important for us to understand what customer needs, and that is the essence of giving the solid customer experience to all the user base. While we further take a stab at what are the top three priorities. So first priority, I would say, in an industry of crypto exchange, or rather I would call it virtual digital assets. So the word or the terminology digital asset itself specifies it that everything is happen over a web of an internet, right? Now these space being so much tangled, the first very important aspect of it is create that awareness that what is it and how it performs or how it works. And that is the entire scenario wherein, while we are into the business of being an exchange of virtual digital assets, we are really very high on creating that awareness through the community. And this community we are building large on most of the available channels, be it Instagram, be it YouTube, be it Telegram, etc., etc. So that is something which is really very important, that we have taken an initiative. And if I have to put it across that on a YouTube, we also have silver play button, wherein we have more than 1 million subscribers who are watching us. We every day come up with some or the other episode of the learning, that how the blockchain network works, what is a web3, what is a DeFi, and how it is being, or it would be really very helpful for us when we are looking at the futuristic way. So this is the first point. Second thing is that we being available to serve our customers wherever our customers are. So having said that, be it an omni-channel platform, be it on calls, be it on social media, be it on app reviews, all the section wherever the customer footprint is, we should be available in order to help our customers. Customer, he or she can come up to us over a phone or over an email also. First and very important aspect of it is that we first acknowledge immediately as soon as the customer comes to us. Second thing is that we understand that what customer needs, because most of the times, or rather I would say, these ranges around 70 to 75% of time, customer needs something else and they come up with something else. And that is the biggest part of it, that do we understand, are we able to interpret and comprehend what customer needs, and further to it we resolve their queries. And that's where I am absolutely aligned with what Suraj also had mentioned, that okay, a TAT for us to get back to our customers has to be really very concrete. We put that commitment that okay, 24 hours, or rather I would say, depending on the type of issues what customer comes up with, we have defined those stats, and that's where we resolve the queries, or rather I would say complaints of the customers, whatever they come back with. So this is the second priority, I would say. And then third and utmost priority is that retention on the digital transformation, because in current scenario the competition is really very tight, right? Any marketing or any direct marketing, there is an organic marketing also happens, that if I do not like the service, I would certainly go and speak to my close connects, and I will say that okay, I'm not happy with the CoinDCX, and that is something what we emphasize a lot on. And hence any of the customer, they experience the customer service or not, we try to deliver those experience by the user experience as well. And when a user comes on any of our product, they should feel that yeah, this is the best product. We ensure that it is user friendly, easy to understand. Whatever the charges we charge them for any of the transaction, it has a complete parity and transparency, and that there is a very limited opportunity of anything going wrong. On top of that, proactive communication is also really very essential part of it. When we know that something is going to happen, or if we are making a change to any of the SOPs or procedures, let's say for KYC or bank account verification or KYC is really very important aspect on a fintech world, right? Earlier, for any of the people who, if they have to open a bank account or if they have to do something, they have to fill up all those manual forms. Now we have digitalized it. Now we are trying to cut down as many steps as we can. Alongside with that, we also want to be compliant with all the guidelines. And how do we make it really very useful and easy for our customers to get onboarded and give end-to-end services online, so they do not have to go anywhere, just open an app or a website, log into it, and you have everything whatever you want. So these are the top 3 priorities that we have at CoinDCX, and we thrive to achieve it.
Great, Mr. Aalok. And again, you clearly put how your company focus and the expectations set part of it, and surely the main takeoff from it is like use as much as on the virtual digital assets, trying to use the kind of collaboration part of social media marketing, and trying to use as much as from the blockchain technology. And you mentioned very clearly to see the kind of high availability to customers. That's what today people are lacking, and people are ready to react when problem is there, but proactively how similar things can be made and understand the customer needs. That's where it gets into the kind of TAT, especially when you see the resolve the queries. Everybody does it, everybody capture it, but it has a style and culture of the organization is expressed on. So that's where if you can see, specifically in Indian context, everybody expects company to be like Ratan Tata talking to us and not trying to address queries. That's a way the expectation is highly set. Within that, trying to use the TAT and trying to ensure that. And again, you mentioned it through technology. It's not just a deal of technology. It's more of acting on the customer queries, user experience, and trying to ensure even not just as an external experience, it's an easy to understand, user friendly, and keeping the navigations more in terms of transparent and proactive communication. Again, that's what today people try to use, even hypertension communications. Those are the things which creates more to get engaged with them. You've actually taken it out how the bouquet of digital services available part of your organization, and you're trying to get engaged with that. I'll surely come to you on the second part to say similar things required any specific culture of the organization for internal, or generally people set it across the globe and standards trying to do that, because this requires a lot more standards to deliver all those things on that. Anyway, the second time I'll come back to you on that. In the meanwhile, I'll move to madam to see like from being an insurance company, like you people have already committed towards the kind of solutions which is expected part of it. How you see or your organization build or create the internal communication strategy post pandemic, which gives how your people are more towards the digital transformation post COVID? Yeah, madam.
Thank you, Dr. Shan. And so I think that's the new normal. Post COVID, there were a lot of opportunities and a lot of good things that happened, apart from the bad things that happened. Few of the good things that happened is we were forced to innovate. You're forced to think that you can work differently. There are many ways that you can work, communicate with the customer without physical interaction. So that is one positive, that one of the biggest positives for large corporates like us that COVID brought around. And like I earlier also said, a document-heavy industry was forced to think and work in a fashion which they would have otherwise never thought had it not been for the pandemic. We all of us would have never thought of this kind of a virtual panel discussion if COVID had not happened. It was only physical discussions and physical meetings. We had to go in long traffic queues, meet across, etc. And then such kind of discussions were possible. But COVID made this possible. So yes, these are one of the few positives. And like you asked further, that how it helped digital transformation. So from day one of lockdown, it was like call centers became virtual. You have such huge number of people working at contact centers with huge call volumes, and with the kind of our size, you can just relate to the call volumes that we have. If it is in a few thousands per day, that is a number of calls that we have to cater. When we cater to that kind of call volumes and that kind of business that you have, to just come to a standstill on a single day when the lockdown was announced. However, you know that ICICI Lombard has been the leader in the technological space, and we had done a lot of groundwork, and we were ready with most of the groundwork. So our contact center staff could work online from day one of pandemic. We didn't lose a single call, and wherever the time of implementation that we had to take was also taken care of. So during the time of implementation, when we switched from offline mode to online mode, the loss during that time also was taken care of. Though it was post facto and reactive, we had to do it, but that few hours of development is all that we lost at our contact center because of the future thing. The way that we digitally transformed is you would have never heard of general insurance customers interacting on voice bots, conversational bots through WhatsApp, through chat bots. So if you see, we have our customer communication mascot Ria. You can interact with Ria on the website chat bot. You can interact with Ria on WhatsApp, and Ria is almost like any other human. We brought in Ria to give the customers a humane element, because that sensitivity and empathy, and without compromising on customer experience, moving customers to bots for complex processes like claim status, intimating claims, we had to have a face to it. And hence Ria was born on this in this year on 9th of March 2022. And from there on, Ria's journey has been very interesting. She's been learning, evolving every day with the help of natural language processing capabilities and machine learning capabilities that she has. And she's now successfully doing about more than 50,000 transactions a month on the digital channels itself, and we are very proud to do that. So that's what COVID has done for us. And the movement to call, so the need for customers calling contact center has drastically reduced after COVID, because like I said, we are there all over our DIY channels, we are there on bots, we are on visual IVR, and we've done most of the awards through our, most of our DIY channels have earned a lot of awards, like ACEF. We retained the gold twice when we launched the visual IVR for intimating claims. Even in the CXO Tech Summit, we have achieved an award for automation of claim processing. So these are few achievements, and the digital transformation initiatives we at ICICI Lombard were enabled with the help of COVID. While yes, it was a pandemic and it caused havoc across the globe to the human species, but the other positives that we could encash on during the pandemic were a few which I just mentioned.
Great, madam. Again, everybody sees as a problem, but somebody sees as an opportunity. That's where the real champion, and ICICI is master in that. So they have that kind of existence, and they do it. And again, rightly pointed out, RIA customer service and RIA customer claim status, even NLP specifically, which is doing. And a good thing is what it has already reached 50K transactions. No, that generally matters a lot at the end of the day, because that's an area where BFSI, including all issuing a loan and collections, other things, everything comes out part of some emotional contact. But insurance is the only one product where it connects with the customer, and in the absence of customer presence, we are trying to engage so many things and trying to do it out. So it's a different transformation. That's what we'll say. It's not just a digital transformation. It's more to do with how we can do it. And surely we felt a need for avoiding frustration, because during COVID, it was fully realized from the people to find how to avoid frustrations, how to come out of the problem. That's what I'd seen. Surely Ria is playing a different role. That's what you said. It has reached something great in terms of milestones. It's a great expectation, not just for customer. It's an engagement with the customer for a long term from the brand, where you can deploy your culture. That's what it matters. It's a great insights. Again, I'll come back to you on that to say beyond Ria, like whether we are going to have different products for different life, non-life, and other things, or Ria is going to get scaled for all those. Not just the products, it's anything insurance across the board. Ria is going to be the answer
Yes,
for it.
he's going to be the customer communication mascot, communicating with the customers irrespective of the channel, whether she's communicating through a voice bot or a chat bot, it'll be her. We're just we're keeping
Great
her
insight.
who is communicating with customer.
Yeah, great. Actually, I purposely kept Anirudh Das for the last, where you're already doing this job. You heard from other people now. It's a compulsion for you to show that better, like how your organization and the expectations set part of social media, especially digital transformation for your customers. How do you see it?
So, first of all, this industry itself, death care and funeral care industry in itself, we last journey is trying to basically uplift the infrastructure all in all, because it's an immediate action industry, right? So when we get a call that okay, there's been a passing away and the family needs a certain set of things to be done. So at the background, what we had to do, we started this vertical of ferns and petals started 6 to 8 months before COVID's first. At that time, if we look back at the horrid instances of what kind of a mismanagement was there, that people had to lie there dead on the roads, because there was so much of mismanagement. So at that time, we really for getting this infrastructure digitized as to making it more accessible, more available, and so that these things are more flexible. But having said that, to digitize a 1,000-year-old thing that has been going on in India, what has happened is that this industry and this death care service sector has been under the hands of unorganized entities. Therefore, it is very fragmented. So, if you go in, let's say, if you go to Nigam Bodh Ghat, you'll have to first get a pandit. You will first have to get somebody to get the samagris. Every culture, India being a diverse culture nation, you have to get different samagris. Every family has their own different needs. So, a lot of market research in terms of that was required. And second, the propagation of death literacy was the key part, because people, it is when people know that okay, there is something or some institution doing this work, it empowers them to take the right kind of decisions. And to propagate death literacy in India, what Last Journey does is, okay, the offline services do play the major part, but through the marketing verticals, through the social media section, we are able to make the necessary noise so that people can hear about us, right? And next thing, if I talk about the three major things, the first thing is hyper personalization, right? So when I say hyper personalization, that again comes from a very extensive digital market research to know what sort of services, what sort of queries are people across the country from different cultural backgrounds are looking for, and then we provide them with those certain things. And it is a very emotionally driven sector. It's quite away from the conventional form of businesses. It is very emotional driven sector, and therefore the sort of market research, the sort of approach to the customer in terms of customer experience is completely different. But at the core of it, again, as all the speakers said, that the point of making things easily accessible to people, to making that connect, establishing a very trustworthy connect with the be it fintech, be it healthcare, or be it this healthcare industry. If you do not establish a very stable bridge of connect, emotional connect with the customer and consumer, then they will not be able to use it, or the word of mouth will also get spoiled. So that is a
Okay, great, clearly on the healthcare, but surely we will put it as part of the research so far is more in terms of getting into as much as on the necessary noise as you pointed out, and surely customer expectations are in future is going to have more gel, like insurance, health, and people segment in terms of finance. Again, getting into the customer plus health is all going to come together, and they will talk about more in that. Anyway, I'll come back to you on that, how we will extract part of it. In the meanwhile, I'll shift to Mr. Ameet on how your strategic imperatives, which you feel like a digital first is a successful transformation, whether it's redefined your customer experience. Yeah, Mr. Ameet.
Yeah. So, as I said again, we had the advantage of being an internet first company. But what we've realized over the course of the last 2.5 years is uh, the constant iteration on our products. And what we've strived to do is discover that language that the customer understands the best. So in terms of the transformation, and when I talk about customers, it's not just our external customers, it's also our internal customers, right? Because there's a lot of things that we need to do here in house in order to serve the best possible experience to the end customers. So what we've observed is that keeping things very simple, keeping them very intuitive for the end users to use is something which is very important. The amount of complexity that you take out of the end user's life, you get returns in multiples for that. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to simplify our products. We've tried to make them very intuitive. We've tried to take them to the customer, do a lot of primary research, a lot of secondary research in terms of understanding what product works, what kind of a layout works, how do the customers interact in general with our ecosystem, and that's what we've tried to do. So for us, it has been more of an enhancement journey than a transformative journey, because we had those systems in place, and now we're just striving to make them even more better and even more intuitive for the end customer to understand and interact with. So what we've seen as a result is that the business that we generated on our own platforms has grown by multiples since the time the first lockdown ended. And we are seeing some strong momentum there, which gives us the belief that our products are now speaking to the customers much more better and much more intuitively. And we hope to keep building on that and take the systems to the next level.
Great. Again, you put it simple and cross-fed to keep simplified, keep it simple, intuitive, and it will return in multiples. Great insights from Mr. Ameet. Now we'll move to Mr. Suraj Shetty on this to find how the digital transformation to build trust practice, embracing agile and resisting to the temptation to make it perfect for the business and customers using digital transformation.
Sorry, I was on mute. So when it comes to resisting the temptation to be perfect, I think that's a very important point, because being a digital first company, we keep trying new things in order to understand our customers better, because we are present pan India. We serve customers from different states, and in every state there is a different culture and a different kind of expectation from customer when it comes to micro transactions or micro credit, as well as, since we are serving small scale merchants, the kind of expectation differs from one place to another. So it's necessary that we understand these things, and for that we keep doing surveys from customers as well as from our merchant partners, and these surveys are done in two forms. One is an online survey, and there is a on-call survey. So I still remember when we first wanted to understand, we, instead of waiting for a complete survey solution to be developed, because that would at least take 1 month, we will be integrating a lot of things. A survey form would be designed. There would be a tool that we need to take for a survey, special tool that would have a nice dashboard, etc. We did not wait for it. Instead, I just came up with a Google form, and we just sent across. That was very raw. In fact, I would agree on that, but still it was like having a good logo on the form, designing the form properly. If you do that bit, I think perfection can be avoided at that point. So what we did is we wanted to survey some customers, we wanted to take some feedback from them, and instead of having a tool which would go live in next 15 days, we wanted the survey in next 24 hours. So that's when we just used a survey monkey and Google form, and we sent across SMS to our customers asking them to fill the survey, which was just a small 2-question survey which we wanted for our product reviews, so that we can understand what kind of problems they are facing, or why they are raising a particular kind of issue, or why they are not using a particular kind of feature, etc. So this helped us not wait for the final solution to come up. We just used what is in hand and we just went ahead with it, and we got the data in 48 hours, and we were able to take action based on that data. And now we have a full-fledged survey tool which enables us to take survey on emails. We can take NPS, CSAT, and other surveys on emails, SMS, as well as on calls. We can take this. So I would always say that when you want to try new things with respect to customer experience or any other domain, it's necessary that we have that intent to start fast and fail fast, rather than waiting for the end product to be developed. So it's necessary that we fast with what we start with whatever we have and just do some pilot and get a taste of things like how is it working, whether it's working or not, and do we need something more, or what are the areas where we need improvement, etc. And once we have this data, we can build a robust platform at a later point of time. So that would help us have ready-made data, and that would also help us get feedback at the right time. And most important, it would help us save a lot of time as well as money that would have been otherwise spent on something that would be delivered too late and would not be useful at that point of time. Second, I would say, is when it comes to delivering trust, building trust with the customers, what we do is, since the app, usually whenever an app is launched, it's in English, so we have ensured that we have our app and all the communication is in 8 languages. So we have all the South Indian languages as well as Bengali, Assami, etc., which we use for sending out SMS to customers, for sending out IVR calls to customers. Plus, we also have, I would say, to add on to it, that we have a separate communication strategy for education purpose. This communication strategy ensures that from time to time, each of our merchant partners and customers are educated about how credit is used, how they can improve their credit score, how they can prevent fraud from happening, or what best practices that they can follow when using digital channels, when using net banking, when using a card, etc., or when using a scan and pay feature that our app has. So having a separate education platform which caters to all the customers in 8 languages, and having a separate communication built for educating them, is something that we think helps build trust among customers, because they know that the company doesn't always communicate with us for payments or collections. The company also educates us from time to time. And second, I would say, to add on to it, we always take care that customers are reached at the whenever customers are always communicated the right kind of language that they understand. So what we do is, whenever there is an interaction with the customer, be it a payment reminder call, be it a customer service call, be it a chat or email, we always ensure to tag the language of the customer. So for example, if a customer calls me today morning, and if he's speaking to an executive, the executive will tag the language that the customer is using frequently. So if the customer is using Hindi very frequently, or Marathi or Gujarati very frequently, he will just tag that language. This tag helps us to send all future communications to this customer in the same language, so that he's comfortable with it and he understands it better. So these are some of the and of course, when it comes to fraud, I already covered it.
Yeah, great insights. Then again, you mentioned very clearly to say, don't wait for the tool. It's like no more to do with the engagement where the emotional patterns to be captured. And again, fail fast. Don't wait for something to reinvent. Try to fail fast and trust. Again, that's what it builds part of it. And again, you're saying multilingual gives more advantage in India, where we can get engaged with them for a long time. So nicely put. It's beyond. That's what you mentioned internally. Your strategy is more to do with e-business, we're focusing more on emotions, less on electronics. So that now it gets engagement with the customer. Now we'll move to Mr. Aalok, Pradhan, on the final question in terms of redefining the digital transformation strategies to exceed customer expectations is a new mantra for next generation digital age. So how your organization is prepared for the next generation digital age?
Absolutely. And this is something, Dr. Shan, is really very important to understand what the future looks like, right? As in when we progress towards inventing new things, Web3 is a new era which is, coming in, and we being pioneer of, Web3, it would be a digital transformation I would say from top to down, or rather I would say bottoms up. What is really very important and how we are defining it in our culture and assimilate that culture is that customer comes first, and that is something we take it as a mantra. Second part of it, I would put it across really very clearly, is that the no support is the best support, and this is what we always want to cherish, that whatever customer needs is available everywhere, and that is how we are digitalizing every aspect of it. If I have to speak about if customer has to be onboarded, if they have to trade on a platform, they are not able to understand everywhere. uh, Artificial intelligence, we are making it in such a way wherein if the system itself would be able to identify what is the next step that customer has to do, and it shows a pop-up on the application itself. The third or the unheard invention what we are doing, and it is currently in a beta period, is that we are allowing uh, voice integrated search also. So the customer do not have to do anything. They can just simply put a button. They can use in certain languages, say that I want to buy a Bitcoin, and it will show the entire process as to that how a customer has to go ahead, what all steps they have to conclude in order to buy a Bitcoin. So these are sort of interventions that we are taking from the AI front. Also very important is that identifying the customers and what are their rituals, like specifying and targeting those customers. If I'm a customer who has visited CoinDCX and I have bought Ethereum for that matter, the fourth time customer comes on the platform itself will specify that we have seen that you have bought Ethereum in your past transactions. Do you want to fast forward the transaction? If yes, just click on yes. And this is how we make use of data and digitalizing it in order to help serve the customers better and cut down the time, because time is really very essential for these new age customers. They do not want to spend times in multiple clicks. How do we ensure that every time customer comes and does certain transaction on the application or the website, how many clicks do they take, and how we make an effort in order to reduce those clicks also, so that it becomes really very important and easy for the customer. So yeah, these are the sort of interventions and inventions that we are doing at our side in order to make customers life really very happy.
Great, Mr. Alok. You mentioned very clearly to point out to say customer is first support, and everywhere it should be available, and ensure that through using that AI and customer experience, you're trying to bring out as much as on the expectations and the rituals, which is very important. That's where the weightage comes out on that. And again, keeping the time factor, that speed and reach matters a lot. At the end of the day, be engaged with the customers, trying to do it out. The final question I'll put to Anirudh Das, where you have heard about the kind of expectation from the other verticals, and people are coping up with the kind of expectations set for the next stage, digital age, where people are trying to do it. So what's your take on the kind of next post-COVID, the kind of expectations set part of your industry in terms of digital age?
I think one principal change post-COVID that can be observed across all the industries and sectors is the fact that we all can see a change happening in the sense that customer experience will become more prominent and more of a determining factor above price and product for all the brands. Customer experience will define a company, a brand. And the next thing is that even at Last Journey, what we do is this is about keeping things simple, okay, not overcomplicating things. And one principle that we really believe in is that, do not promise what you can't uh, provide, and provide what you have promised. That is the, plank of truth. That is the pillar of truth. And brand can actually go a longer way to be more trusted across, in the crowd of their competitors. And when I say, that customer experience will be more towards, again, the point that I mentioned earlier is about hyper personalization. For example, let's take Spotify, for example. Spotify knows when you are going to the gym, when you're waking up, when you're driving to office, and in that accordance, they will create a bespoke set of playlist of songs for you. And that's the same way. It's about basically going the extra mile as a brand to examine and to read how your customer behaves, and then giving them suggesting them services, because not, one size doesn't fit all. So that is one of the major things that we have to look at. And again, finishing off things by saying that every brand will need to be customer centric. The marketing, the advertising, everything needs to be customer centric in order to leverage that brand and customer relation.
Great insights. Again, you nicely put again by concluding, and with my job is here, that's it. Company brands, no, it's the culture of the company, and keep it simple so that promise, provide and promise. No, it's at the end of the day ensures how it is. And hyper convergent, like no, it's not just a kind of compute. It's more to do with how to get proactively engage with the customers, understand for that time and for that expectations how they can do it. For example, whatever it is mentioned, it's like more in terms of the classics which is expected part of it. It's very well put to that. And again, surely I have enjoyed the kind of expectation set part of the customers, where you all individually having a diversified panel in terms of how customers getting insured. For sure, digital transformation is very critical to every industry and every company, including all segments. However, it proves and gets the competitive advantage to those who don't employ digital technologies. And we heard from the diversified panel how every individual institution is focusing more on the proactiveness in terms of customer wow factor, where it's not just a business process, it's more to shape the strategies and the kind of expectations set part of the business models. It's not just a customer as just a business. If models are getting changed and getting adopted to that, and we had enough in terms of digital resources which planned part of the organization and trying to get as much as on the growth strategy and creating the multiple metrics in terms of goals, which gives enough in terms of digital transformation and the expectations set part of the customers. So we strongly believe in India, again, if business is less to do with electronics, more to do with emotions, Indian companies are all focusing towards that and ensure like how they can get that mileage in terms of creating an engagement with the customers, and proved the corporate digital is surely moving towards the customer digital, where every individual customer is treated as corporate and the services is getting involved and getting more and more towards the customer, not for short term, for a long term, so that both business and the kind of benefits for both individual versus company versus corporate, and company versus customer, now company versus customer expectations, which is more in terms of how they can engage with their customers for a long term. And surely that this topic is going to have enormous in terms of potential growth. We wish in all your organizations to reach further more great heights, ensuring the customers and trying to multiply in terms of business and the customer engagements for a long term. Thanks for all your valuable time. It's been really appreciated in terms of sharing your views, diversified views in terms of customers, but ensuring that the kind of digital transformation and how we are prepared for the 2023 was very clearly put. And it's not just an easy. COVID has given us an opportunity to get more engaged with the customers, more growth, not only from the business in terms of diversified products and trying to take all companies to the next level. Thanks for all your valuable time.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.